When I lived in southeast London, when I heard the foxes screaming, I was up out of bed and in the window and out there seeing what was going on. It was just fascinating to live with wild animals around you. Really evocative noises of pure nature.
Okay, John, could you just state your name and what you do?
Okay, John Bryant. I run a wildlife deterrence service specialising in fox deterrence. At certain times of the year, one of the most frequent 999 calls to the police are caused by foxes screaming. People ring me up and say, you've got to do something about these foxes. I can hear them, I can hear the cats screaming as they're killing them in the streets.
I don't really mind. I just think it's part of the sort of wildlife of London. There isn't much about. I quite like them. I think they're quite naughty. I mean, I don't like the screams, you know, the horrible screams that they make. They sound sort of like babies dying. But no, I don't really mind. I don't mind a fox.
There is at least one London borough that dealt with its fox population problem by stopping people putting out bags of rubbish on the day that refuse was due to be collected, and instead provided everybody with a wheelie bin. And overnight the fox population dropped because the foxes went elsewhere to where they could find food. Steve Taylor, Head of Campaigns and Communications for the League Against Cruel Sports.
What would be your favourite representation of fox in cultures?
I think it would probably, my favourite representation would probably be Fantastic Mr. Fox, the Roald Dahl book, because it's not a perfect fox. Foxes aren't perfect. It's a wild animal. It's going to have its flaws. We all have our flaws, and we're apparently not wild. But actually, I think Fantastic Mr. Fox recognises that the fox isn't a perfect animal, but it also recognises the inherent greatness of the creature itself.
Okay, my name's Dr. Philip Baker, and I'm a lecturer at the University of Reading. I mean, I think there are loads. I mean, I think generally certainly the UK literature tends to kind of emphasise its cunning, but certainly they are very intelligent and they are very adaptable, and for that reason I think we should celebrate their success.
Do you think people anthropomorphisize foxes, and what do you think how does that have an effect on how we treat them?
I'm not sure whether many people do anthropomorphise foxes. People's view of foxes is dictated by the media. I'm just doing some research on how fox stories are reported, and the language, which is incredible really. The sort of words that are used that are never used normally in everyday life, all beginning to paint foxes as this sneaky, dangerous creature of the night which is going to mug grannies outside post offices, and you know, it's all completely false when you've spent 40 years working with foxes as I have.
And the danger is that we become too cute about creatures when actually there's nothing to be cute about. It's wildlife. We should respect it as wildlife and not actually try and teach people that these in some way are akin to pets or in some way similar to humans.
So they really do not make very good pets at all. They're quite stinky, so they will kind of urinate and defecate around your home as part of what they naturally do.
They are quite invasive. One fox once came into the bedroom and ran away with a shoe. Fortunately not one of mine, otherwise it might have been a dead fox.
Do you like having them in the city?
Not particularly. Yes, in a way, but you know, on the other hand, they can be a bit of a nuisance.
I see them and I hear them at night. So as such, I think they're quite cute, but then you read in the newspaper that they come into the houses and attack children, so it's probably becoming a bit of a pest.
The Fox Project discovered the 4 main reasons the foxes would visit a garden are ponds, because they have to drink, and steal a frog or two. Compost heaps, which are warm, got lots of bugs in that they can dig out and eat. Bird feeders, because they attract pigeons and rodents, which the foxes can come for. And fallen fruit. Foxes are big fruit eaters. Now, a lot of people think they just live off cats and chickens. And in the countryside, they think, well, they live off lambs.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm an Englishman, live in the West Country, South West England. A lot of foxes in the town I live in. I think they have it easier in the town than they do in the country, raiding rubbish bins and stuff, so that's why we are getting an increase in urban foxes, I suppose. More power to them, live and let live.
Fox population of London certainly is not growing. If anything, it's declining. As more and more local authorities adopt wheelie bins, get the streets cleaner, then that reduces the food supply, which of course is the main factor in any wildlife population. Well, foxes are solitary hunters, very much like cats. They've separated from the wolf side of the dog world, if you like.
So the characteristic pose that you'll see of a fox hunting mice is the large leap in the air to kind of come down on the victim with its forepaws. So in evolutionary terms, that's kind of its natural prey. I mean, they certainly are related to dogs. They kind of like sit happily in that kind of fox, wolf, jackal kind of group taxonomically. But morphologically over time, they have developed this much more cat-like morphology.
The biggest animal that a fox would normally have would be a small rabbit, and pouncing on voles and things like that. Now, allowing a rabbit to run around your garden in a city where everyone knows there are foxes, it's no good throwing up your hands in horror and calling in a pest controller to kill a fox because it's eaten your rabbit. So the trick is to allow the foxes you've got to keep other foxes away, but just educate your foxes that your particular garden or part of its territory is unfriendly, and that's deterrence. It's just pure common sense, in my view, that if you can solve problems without causing harm, why not?
We run a Hunt Crime Watch service, which is national, allowing people to report instances of hunt-related crime to us. And I would reckon that probably 10% of the calls we get are about people hunting foxes in the inner city or in towns, including in central London. And we've had some reports of horrific cruelty to foxes.
Most of the problems that they kind of lay at the foot of the fox is something that you can really, with a modicum of common sense, avoid. It's like you wouldn't go out in the morning and leave your front door open and then complain that somebody came in and swiped your television.
They are only living in the inner cities because we are. They're only living in the inner cities because we make a mess and because we leave food lying around.
They are part of us, This is nice. I feel positive about this because I love animals anyway, And foxes are beautiful animals. Better not use them to make fur coats,
you.